our focus now is the issue with China. We do have some trade from the U.S. with Mexico and our customers as well. But I think the main concern of the industry is to have the freedom to source what they need at competitive prices. When you impose a trade tariff of this magnitude, you're basically shutting down imports from a given country. You're basically preventing a few plants in the global market to access the U.S. market. In a commodity market like ours, the impact will be prices will go up. We already see prices now stable and coming up. So at the end, the chicken industry will have to pass on into the consumer price, and will have to eat up in profits if they want to continue exporting to the global market. So from a domestic point of view, I hear the dollar store is considering changing their name to $1.25. And I don't know what will happen with our competitiveness. I mean, the U.S. is a major agricultural power, and we help feed the world. I don't think we want to mess up with such a noble cause, which is to make food safe and affordable globally. So I am not a politician, but do whatever you want. Don't touch the food chain.
I think that's a good place for us to take a break and see. Is there anyone in the audience who has some questions? We'd be happy to entertain them.
Reminder to please identify yourself and form a question.
Marilee, International Trade Today. My question is for Guy. You said that with a 25% tariff on your product coming in from China, it would not be cost effective to bring it in. So do you think that chicken producers that buy from your company, do they have options to buy from other companies that aren't making this in China, or will they just produce fewer chickens? Obviously that's a cycle that happens every half a year or so, so they could decide to grow fewer.
I don't believe in the worst case scenario. I mean, there are about 12 to 14 plants globally producing methionine. There are 3 or 4 in China. There is local production in the US, but the local production is not enough to supply the United States. Those are global companies supplying global companies, regional companies, local farmers. There are global companies, global contracts. So you cannot just switch and start supplying other customers and etc. It's a very complex supply chain. It takes years to fine-tune such a supply chain. We are currently bringing product from other plants that we have in Europe. It's a huge cost for us to reformulate our whole global supply chain, and the impact that it will have by restricting access to competitive plants is prices will go up, chicken cost will go up, the consumer will pay more, the US will export less. So I would not want to consider the scenario that there would not be enough product to feed our chickens.
And I think, Guy, just to sort of play on what you had said earlier, is that there is such a growing demand for methionine because there's growing population and they need to have this essential amino acids in the foods, that plants are probably at capacity. And as you said, they already have contracts in line. And so you can't suddenly produce more. And if you've already got a contract, I've got to supply Spain, I've got to supply Brazil, I've got to supply the United States, and then you take a part of that out, I can't just shift. I mean, am I mischaracterizing?
Absolutely, and about a month ago, a domestic producer in the US, international company with a plant in the US, they announced that they are canceling their project for a brand new plant, for reasons that they will have to explain to the market. But this is showing that you need at least 5 years to plan and invest in such a plant. So those those are extremely complex processes, and we need to make sure that we give what the market needs to be able to provide safe, affordable, and sustainable food. Sustainability is critical, and these kind of amino acids, methionine, is at the core of producing sustainable meat.
Any other questions? Yes.
Dan Pearson with Americans for Prosperity. A question for Laura. You discussed the analysis that the trade partnership has done and the really significant economic effects that are shown from the tariffs. Have you gotten any feedback from the administration at any level saying we disagree with your numbers, you're being too pessimistic? Or have you had any indication from the administration that they're even looking at what you've done?
Yeah, we did get into a White House briefing bullet point. They called it fake news. It was pretty funny. Needless to say, yeah, the administration, their pushback tends to be, well, look at CPI, look at inflation in the United States, it's fine. Look at how strong the U.S. economy is, it's fine. These tariffs are not hurting, they're not having the negative impact that everybody says that they're going to have. To which I would say, you're looking at 25,000 feet. You get down on the ground and you see there are impacts on prices. The washing machine prices, we all know, have gone up because of the tariffs from the 201. When I looked at furniture prices in the CPI, they're also up since the tariffs were imposed on imports from China on furniture. Unfortunately, BLS doesn't publish CPI data for a lot of the products that are on the various lists. It's very strict. Mostly it's food products that they have in the CPI, so I'm not able to pull too much more than those. But for the ones that I can match, we are seeing consumer price increases on the ground level, at the product level, that suspiciously happen along about March, April, May, June, July of 2018. So it is having an effect. It is having an effect on employment. As I say, 1 to 3 years, you're going to start seeing the layoffs after 1 to 3 years. But before then, the last thing a company wants to do, especially in a market, in an economy that is humming along nicely and unemployment is so low, the last thing you want to do is lay people off, especially when you've invested a lot of time and money in training them. So you look for other things to do first. You cut back on capital investment. Employment-related things, you might not make such a big contribution to the 401k plan this year. You ask workers to come in 35 hours a week instead of 40. You don't hire, this is happening a lot, you don't hire the employees that you intended to hire thanks to the tax cuts that you got. You put those plans off. So all of those things are happening now, and they are happening because of the tariffs. At some point, the fat in the system is going to be gone, and then you're going to start seeing the job loss estimates. So the response to the critics in the administration is, you better hurry up and get these tariffs off before you really do start seeing these effects, because they're coming. They are absolutely coming. The other thing I would note is that if you look at the Beige Book, the Federal Reserve's Beige Book interviews, they go around the country and they interview manufacturers, services companies, farmers, and they say, what's happening in various regions of the economy. And increasingly, with every different issue of the Beige Book, you will see that the Fed reporting that people are telling them that, yeah, the weather is affecting farming, but so are the tariffs. And this is affecting manufacturing, but the tariffs are showing up. We're having trouble absorbing the price increases. Our customers won't allow us to pass it on. The pressure is building within the pot. So it's coming. It's coming at the 25,000 foot level. It's coming. It hasn't gotten there yet, but it's coming.
Thank you. Any other questions for our panelists?
Actually, I just wanted to jump in for a minute to compliment Weta and Ken Levinson for putting the senators together. Having a Republican and Democrat sit down and talk about a trade issue like that really was great. Thank you, Ken. I'll just remind for some of you who follow the arcana of global trade that working with Senator Isaacson, Senator Coons invigorated the negotiations on renewing the African Growth and Opportunity Act about having some better market access for U.S. products to South Africa before the deal would close. Isaacson and Coons worked hard together as an example of the kind of partnership you saw here. And not only did we get the GOA renewal on some additional ag product access to South Africa, there was the corollary benefit of the renewal of GSP and the renewal of Fast Track that moved as a package in Congress. So that kind of thing can be very compatible. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd just like to say thank you very much to Laura Boffman. She's the president of the Trade Partnership and Trade Partnership Worldwide. I'd like to thank you as well, Eric, the executive director of the Specialty Soya and Grains Alliance, and of course to you, Guy Harari, the president of Ediseo North and Central America, for bringing the stories, helping us understand what it's like. We are here in DC, most of us. We're policy people, or we're government relations people. We don't necessarily have that tactile understanding of what it means and how it impacts all the way through. So we appreciate the depth that you brought to us and the understanding.
Thank you very much to our panel. Thank you, Nicole. Eric, I have to give credit to Nicole, who was the driving force behind getting the senators to the WIDA event. So thank you, Nicole, for everything. Laura, when you were speaking, I was thinking of this mini-series on HBO called Chernobyl. And they get to the point where they're explaining why the reactor exploded. And I don't think it's a spoiler, guys. I think if you follow the news, you might know about that. But that they were pulling the rods out so fast that there was no chance to get them back in fast enough to stop the explosion when they saw that the meltdown was going to happen. And I feel like when I was listening to you speak about the pot boiling, I was thinking about those rods, the rods going back into the reactor to try to stop the explosion, and it was. And then they hit the button to try to stop it, and it didn't happen. So hopefully there's a button we can press and make this all go away. So thank you very much to our panel. Thank you all for sticking around. We hope to see you in a couple weeks when we host Congressman Blumenauer.